Hi, everybody. Welcome to Breakfast All Day. Matt, Christy, Alonso, Clint Eastwood is never not working and has a new movie in theaters. Richard Jewell, based on the true story of the security guard at the 1996 Atlanta Olympics who reported a bomb threat, saved a lot of lives, and then was falsely accused of being the bomber himself.
Were you in Atlanta in 96?
I was not. I was living in Dallas. I had visited, I think... like that spring. I mean, I did go to that park before the Olympics happened because like it had already been built, and it was the thing that like if you were visiting town, people would take you to. Mm-hmm. But I was not around for that. I did intern at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution back in the day.
Oh. Can you attest to the authenticity with which they depict any of the, we talked about Bombshell getting things right. Did Richard Jewell get all of this stuff right?
You know what? I was on like the features floor, so I didn't really do the newsroom that much. But I mean, the general layout of the office. I mean, I interned there in the summer of 1987, so 9 years earlier. They weren't too far off. I think they get a lot of the sort of attitudes and behaviors of the AJC wrong, but that's another topic.
Yes. So Paul Walter Hauser plays Richard Jewell.
Yes.
And his performance is the best part of this movie.
Yeah, I'm a little higher on this movie than you guys are. This movie is frustrating because it does I think the movie does what it sets out to do relatively well. But don't dig into any of the stories behind this.
Well,
right?
let's talk about that. Because they need to be dug into.
But let's not forget that he completely made up an entire investigation in Sully just to give himself a dramatic arc to make the government look
understood.
bad.
I think, as you said, Paul Walter Hauser is very good as Richard Jewell in this. And I think a lot of the other characters, Sam Rockwell, I think is great in this. Mm-hmm. I really liked him.
Kathy Bates, Nina Arianda.
Yeah,
Jon Hamm is good.
Right,
Jon Hamm is okay.
Yeah.
Jon Hamm's being Jon Hamm, right? Like it's show up.
You don't know what Jon Hamm is like, or do you?
Jon Hamm is being screen Jon Hamm.
Okay,
right. This is a different kind of character for Olivia Wilde.
Olivia Wilde is terrible in this.
This is an embarrassing. Like I feel so bad that hey, you directed Booksmart, one of the year's most acclaimed films, and you're going to see out 2019 with this insane performance.
I mean, whether or not and we'll get into the whole problematic nature of how Kathy Scruggs, her character, is depicted, but she's like before that even happens, like she's outright terrible in this.
Yeah, she's chewing the scenery like mad.
But you did not think that?
No, I didn't think that. I didn't find her over the top. I thought it fit in with how that character was supposed to be. I mean, the movie definitely sets out that the AJC, the movie would have you believe, true or not, that the AJC is really, especially Scruggs is really bored with kind of what's going on in the town and wants something more interesting than just the Olympics. Who cares? And then when the bombing happens, while Jon Hamm's FBI agent is at that park, you do understand without being spoon-fed why it matters to him to really find someone and pin it on him really fast. And
because it happened on his watch.
Yeah, but they do spoon feed you, and he does say it.
But by the end of the film, the spoon feeding just gets to be the Kathy Bates speech at the end was just or towards the end, it was just oh my God, please. And there's a few moments like that are really irritating.
Even Hauser's last scene just felt like a for your consideration clip. Like we could have skipped that part, and I think he doesn't convey anything that we haven't already gathered over the course of the film, except that his attitudes have changed somewhat, but even that has already sort of been conveyed by the film.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I went and read the Vanity Fair article that inspired most of this, and there are obviously some differences in that. One of the things that bothered me is that we get Kathy Scruggs, who is a real person. Yes. But is not around anymore.
No, to defend herself.
And she died in 2001.
Right. And we get, Richard Jewell has since died. But this movie is...
And they changed the FBI guy's name.
Well, so that's the point I want to make, is that, we get Jewell's lawyer, right, who's still alive, but was on his team. But then we don't get the real feds, who are presumably still alive. And I found that a little oh, really? You're only going to take shots of the people that are not around anymore. That's a little like
it's again like I'm still annoyed with how Sully he takes his act of heroism and then completely makes up this whole fake tribunal investigation thing so that he can emerge the hero, none of which ever happened, but all of which supports like Eastwood's sort of libertarian the government's out to get you bent. And so here you have this story which is a true story, and yes indeed Richard Jewell was treated badly in all of this, but to present Kathy Scruggs as this cartoonishly incompetent and malicious reporter when she's not around to defend herself, and to frankly in 2019 to make a movie that vilifies the FBI and the media is like, what are we really doing here, Clint Eastwood?
Yeah, I thought about that a lot. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say also the newspaper asked Warner Brothers to say, look, can there be any kind of
disclaimer?
Vague, like most movies based on true events have even the briefest of title cards that say inspired by true events or something to let you know that maybe we have tinkered with this, but this just comes right out. And then so the paper asked Warner Brothers to do something to couch this in terms that make it more accurate, and Warner Brothers is like, it's a movie, get over it.
I think that they are throwing in some very meager boilerplate at the end about like certain characters and events, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I look, I think the AJC has a case here. I hope they smooth the brakes off Warner Brothers because this movie is crap.
I've thought a lot about Eastwood's choice to release this movie or to make this movie and release it going, like you can't tell me that Eastwood and the producers aren't thinking about any possible effect that this would have on the election, right? You just can't tell me that. Nobody, like Eastwood is not that stupid. That being said, the outside of the AJC story, which once you dig into this, and it's telling that Eastwood talks about, or at least hints at, there's Richard Jewell won at least settlements, if not lawsuits, against the college guy, against other, against the New York Times, all these defamation suits, right? He went after the AJC and didn't win, right?
They wouldn't settle.
They wouldn't settle, and he didn't win. He didn't win that case because the courts rightly found that at the time that newspaper story was published, all of the things were true.
Right. The FBI
was coming after him. He did fit a profile.
And so, well, I don't know about that because the movie doesn't do a good job about, again, this, and the Vanity Fair story goes into this in depth. He was not a loner. He did have a bunch of friends. It was not like the movie makes him seem more pathetic than I think he actually was in real life. And that's frustrating because what's irritating is the AJC, if anything, it's everybody else. It's all the other media that went bananas. The AJC rightly got to stand by that story. Everybody else in the media and the FBI did fuck this up. And, we can complain about the timing about it, but you know what? Those guys fucked up. Absolutely. And tough shit. And yes, as somebody who's way on the left, I would argue oh God, really? We got to have something that's going to have us doubt the press and doubt the FBI. Well, you know what? If the press and the FBI hadn't fucked up back then, and it's not like they don't still do that shit now, right?
But also we're dancing around the thing that is really so galling about this film, which is that it suggests that Kathy Scruggs has sex with the Jon Hamm FBI character in order to get that scoop, right? That did not happen.
It more than suggests it. It pretty much
spells it out.
Says it.
Right. They're at a bar and
she puts his hand in his pants.
No, she's fondling him and establishes I want to know what's happening here and I will compensate you as such. And he whispers in her ear, we're going after Richard Jewell. And then she says, so should we get a hotel room or you want to go to my car or what? And they pick up their things they're going to leave to go have sex. It's not it's even implied or hinted at. It's not vague.
It's not subtext, it's text.
But that's the problem is that every single person who knows her has said that did not happen. Nobody asked me. The guy who co-bylines with her on the story that was the main original scoop, no one ever talked to him. He's in this film, but nobody ever talked to him about his experiences working with her. And everybody who worked with her has said she was the most incredible, tenacious cop reporter. Yeah, she was larger than life, and she was a lot of fun and a party girl, whatever. But she didn't do that.
And I think it's not like the story can't be told, and it's not like the story isn't true, but it's like I think they tell it wrong, and they're telling it with a larger agenda at play. And so what you're left with is like an Atlas Shrugged movie made by a world-class filmmaker. For me, anyway. I just was sort of like, I think some of the choices are appalling, but again, I have to say, like, well, you know, that the bomb sequence, very well edited and put together. A lot of really good supporting performances. But overall, ham-handed and unbelievable.
It's a solidly, efficiently made later Clint Eastwood movie.
Yeah,
Right?
that's fair.
Right? But then there's all this other appalling stuff.
You know, at least Clint's not in it having three ways. That's a plus.
With Jon Hamm and Olivia Wilde.
Woo!
What do we think
Only two ladies.
What do we think about Olivia Wilde's defense of the story where she says nobody complains about James Bond? Right? I mean, like the whole story of From Russia with Love
Because
is
James Bond doesn't have journalistic ethics, and James Bond isn't a real person.
James Bond's a fictional character.
Okay. Okay.
That's what I say to that.
I guess the question is like, so is it the equivalent of a bribe? Because ultimately, like, if she wants to sleep with someone, fine, right? Like,
She's sleeping with somebody to get the scoop.
There
And the
is
fact- I was
a
gonna
quid
say,
pro quo.
There's a quid pro quo to use vernacular, but also I was
hang
gonna-
on. I'm sorry. I just want to make sure we're being clear on what the issue is.
Okay.
It's that she's bribing him. It's not that she's fucking him. It's that the sex is the bribe. That's what I want to be really, really
Yes,
clear
it's
on.
not if it were about the fact that a reporter happened to have sex with an FBI agent and then he, like, in their pillow talk mentioned something that he shouldn't have, that would be one thing. She is clearly dangling the prospect of sex in exchange for information.
And it's the bribe, right? 'Cause
That's a
she wouldn't-
bribe, yes.
Right. She can't pay him for that information.
But also that
and
Right? Ethically, as a reporter, you can't pay someone to give you a scoop.
exactly.
unless you're TMZ. But the thing is, though, that bribe, that transaction, however you want to describe it, isn't just some like tiny throwaway thing that occurs in a subplot. It's crucial to the narrative and to the way in which like Richard Jewell's life was destroyed. Like this expedites and magnifies it because that story gets out how it does. And that made his life a lot worse, a lot faster because she had that scoop, because she fucked Jon Hamm. I would argue that.
Yeah. The movie goes out of its way to villainize her and then to like have her cry at the end when she goes to Kathy Bates's press conference because she was wrong. It's like, give me a break, movie.
Anyway, it's problematic.
To say the least.
And yeah, she's defended it. Paul Walter Hauser has gone on Twitter to defend it. Like, hey, a lot of movies dramatize things.
Well, what are they going to do?
They have to say that. They have to defend
Right.
Clint Eastwood. So I'm saying 5.8.
What did I say, 5?
You said 6.
I said 6?
You want to change that?
Yeah, I want to say 5.
Okay.
I was more okay with this 7.5.
17.5
So that's a
divided
6
by
point.
3.
17.5 divided by 3 is
That's right.
5.9.
All right. Is it 5? Hold on.
5.8 and 10.8. No, it's 18.3 divided by 3 is a 6.1.
6.1. That's really easy math. 6.1. It's a 77% on the Tomatometer.
Yeah.
If you guys see that, I'd be curious to hear what you guys think when you see it. Let us know.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. Like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and hey, why not follow us on social media at BeFastAllDay, and check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. We're recapping shows like Watchmen and Mandalorian and The Morning Show and His Dark Materials, and doing on-demand reviews and trailers and news and all kinds of other stuff. So check it out. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.